One day, a dinosaur suddenly appears in the village. It was an ordinary morning in the quiet little village of Mehranpur, a place tucked between fields of golden wheat and the whispering line of the forest. Roosters crowed at dawn, women drew water from the well, and men readied their tools to work in the fields. Children, barefoot and laughing, ran along the dusty paths, chasing each other in games that seemed as old as the soil itself. Life moved slowly here, with the rhythm of the seasons and the cycles of harvest. But on that morning, something extraordinary was about to shatter the routine forever. The first hint came from the forest. At first, the villagers thought it was thunder. A deep rumble trembled through the ground, sending ripples across the surface of water in clay pots. The cows in the pens lowed uneasily, stamping their hooves as though they sensed an invisible storm. "Strange," muttered old Karim, the village elder, leaning on his stick as he stood outside the tea stall. "The sky is clear. No clouds today. So, where does this thunder come from?" Before anyone could answer, the ground shook again, louder this time. Plates rattled inside kitchens, a cart tipped over, and hens flapped their wings in panic. Mothers pulled their children closer, and the men exchanged worried looks. The sound was not just a rumble now. It was thud, 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 heavy, deliberate, like footsteps of something enormous. "An earthquake," one man suggested nervously. "No," said Karim, his wrinkled face paling. "These are steps something is walking." The villagers laughed nervously. The idea was absurd. What creature could possibly shake the earth with each step? A buffalo? An elephant? But there hadn't been elephants in these parts for decades. Then the children were the first to see it. Little Amina, no more than 8 years old, had been playing near the edge of the wheat fields when her eyes grew wide. She pointed with trembling fingers and shouted, "Monster! Monster in the forest!" Heads turned. At first, all they saw was the line of trees swaying unnaturally, branches snapping, birds fleeing in black flocks. And then it emerged. A giant shape pushed its way out of the trees, its body towering higher than the roofs of houses. Green scales glistened in the sunlight, its massive tail swished behind, cutting through crops as though they were mere grass. Its head lifted, eyes shining like molten gold, jaws lined with sharp, glistening teeth. When it opened its mouth, a roar thundered across the land, shaking the very air. It was a dinosaur. Gasps and screams erupted in the village. Pots dropped, tools clattered, and people ran for shelter, shouting in disbelief. "It can't be. Am I dreaming? God save us." The creature lumbered forward, its footsteps shaking the earth, each movement echoing through the houses. Some villagers hid inside, bolting their doors, while others simply froze, too stunned to move. The younger children clung to their mothers, their wide eyes reflecting both fear and awe. The dinosaur, massive, powerful, ancient, stood in the middle of Mehranpur, staring down at the tiny humans who looked like ants beneath it. Its chest rose and fell with slow, heavy breaths, and its gaze swept across the huts, the fields, the terrified faces. For a long moment, time itself seemed to pause. Old Karim, trembling yet strangely steady, whispered, This creature is not from our world. Not from our time. How can it be here? How can it exist?" The men of the village quickly gathered near the mosque courtyard, arguing in fear. "We must drive it away," shouted one, brandishing a stick. "Are you mad? That stick won't even scratch it," another countered. "Maybe it will eat our cattle," a third worried. "Or our children," said a mother, clutching her son tightly. The dinosaur roared again, a sound so powerful that it rattled windows and sent dogs howling. It lowered its head toward the well, sniffing the water, its breath hot and heavy. The villagers watched in horrified fascination as the creature dipped its mouth and drank deeply, emptying half the well in a single gulp. The children, curious despite their fear, whispered from behind walls. "It's thirsty, not angry," Amina murmured. "Maybe it won't hurt us," her brother added. But fear outweighed reason. Some of the younger men ran to fetch their axes and sickles, believing they must defend the village at all costs. Women cried out, begging them not to provoke the beast. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of attacking, the dinosaur lay down in the open field, curling its massive body like a resting lion. Its tail stretched across the road, blocking the path to the neighboring village. It gave a low rumble, not of rage, but of exhaustion, almost like a sigh. The villagers, peeking cautiously from behind walls, realized the truth. The creature was not hunting them. It was lost, confused, and tired. Whispers spread quickly. Maybe it doesn't want to hurt us. Maybe it's just like one of our animals. But how can such a thing exist today? Kareem, stroking his white beard, said softly, "There is a reason it is here. No creature walks into a place without purpose. We must watch, we must learn before we decide." Still, not all were convinced. Fear ran deep, and fear turns quickly to anger. A group of hot-headed men declared they would chase the dinosaur away before it brought doom. One even suggested contacting the authorities in the city, scientists, soldiers, anyone who could understand what this monster was. But the dinosaur, enormous and ancient, only lay silently, its golden eyes half closed, breathing slowly, almost peacefully. The village of Mehranpur had never seen such a day. A day when the world of the past collided with the present. A day when an impossible creature stepped into their lives. And though the sun still shone and the field still swayed, nothing was ordinary anymore. Because one question hung heavy in the air, unspoken but pressing in every villager's mind. The village of Mehranpur did not sleep that night. Though the dinosaur lay outside the fields, curled in strange slumber, the people remained restless. Fires were kept burning in courtyards, families gathered together, and every whisper carried both fear and wonder. Some prayed, others argued, but no one could escape the heavy thought. What if it wakes hungry? Inside Kareem's tea stall, a small group of men had assembled. The elder sat cross-legged, his stick beside him, eyes reflecting the flicker of the lantern. Opposite him, young men like Rashid, full of fire, argued loudly. "We cannot just sit and wait. This beast will eat our cattle, our goats, and then us," Rashid said, slamming his fist on the wooden floor. "But you saw it," replied another man, more cautious. "It drank water, it rested. Did it kill anyone? Did it attack?" "Not yet," Rashid snapped. "But can you guarantee it won't?" Kareem lifted his hand, silencing the quarrel. His voice was calm, but it carried weight. "Listen to me, sons. This creature is not like wolves or jackals we drive away with fire. This is something from another time. If it meant to destroy us, it would have done so already." The younger men muttered, but his words planted seeds of doubt. Meanwhile, children huddled close to their mothers, whispering questions that adults had no answers for. Amina, unable to stop thinking about the dinosaur's tired eyes, asked her mother, "Maybe it's lost, Mama. Maybe it just wants to go home." Her mother hushed her, but secretly, she too wondered if the child might be right. By midnight, the entire village gathered near the mosque. Decisions had to be made. Some demanded they light torches and chase the creature back to the forest. Others urged to send word to the city for scientists or soldiers. Yet a few, like Kareem, advised caution, warning that rashness could bring disaster. Voices rose and clashed like swords. What if it crushes our houses? What if it calls more of its kind? No, it looks lonely. We can't risk the children. By the third morning, the dinosaur was no longer a shock. It was becoming a reality. The villagers awoke to the sound of its rumbling steps, the sight of its enormous shadow moving between fields, and the dull thud of its tail knocking against fences and trees. It no longer hid near the forest. Instead, it roamed freely, drinking from the well, chewing through patches of crops, and even resting near the school courtyard where children whispered and giggled behind windows. Some had grown used to it, daring even to step a little closer than before. Others stayed locked in their homes, convinced disaster was only a heartbeat away. But all of them waited anxiously for the return of Rashid and the others who had gone to the city. They didn't have to wait long. By midday, the distant growl of engines rolled over the dusty road leading into Mehranpur. Villagers rushed to the entrance, shading their eyes from the sun. A small convoy approached, 2 jeeps, a truck, and half a dozen men in uniforms. Behind them, another jeep carried men in suits with shiny glasses and clipboards, their city shoes looking absurd against the village dust. Rashid sat proudly in the front, his chest puffed with self-importance. "They are here," someone shouted. "The city has sent help." Excitement spread, though not everyone cheered. Karim watched silently, leaning on his stick, eyes narrowing at the strangers who stepped out. Soldiers barked orders, pushing curious children back. Scientists hurried forward, snapping photographs and speaking in clipped, excited tones that few villagers understood. Then came the moment. The dinosaur lifted its head at the sound of the engines. Its golden eyes blinked, and a low growl rumbled from deep in its chest. It was not angry, but wary. The sudden movement made a woman scream, and the soldiers immediately raised their rifles. "No!" Karim's voice boomed louder than anyone expected. "Do not provoke it." The scientists quickly intervened, waving their hands. Wait. Don't shoot. It doesn't appear hostile. We need it alive. It's beyond priceless." The word priceless sparked murmurs. To the villagers, it sounded as though the creature was no longer a threat, but a treasure. One of the scientists, tall with silver-framed glasses, turned to the headman and said, "This is the discovery of the century. We don't yet understand how it exists, but it must be studied. We will need to transport it." "Transport?" the headman repeated uncertainly. "Yes. To the city. To research facilities. This creature could unlock secrets of history, evolution, even science itself. Do you understand? This is not just an animal, it's a miracle." The villagers listened, torn between awe and fear. To them, the dinosaur was no miracle, it was a danger, a burden, a mystery they could neither explain nor ignore. Rashid stepped forward quickly, seizing the chance to prove himself. Take it away. It has destroyed our crops already. Soon it will leave us starving. Let the city deal with it." But Amina, who had crept close to listen, shouted, "No, don't let them take it." All eyes turned to the small girl, her face flushed with defiance. "It hasn't hurt anyone. It only eats plants. It's not a monster. It's just lost." Laughter rippled among the soldiers, but Karim nodded gravely. "The child is right. We must be careful before we hand over what we do not understand. To some, this creature may be a miracle. To others, a weapon." The scientist with silver glasses frowned. "Old man, with respect, you don't know what you're talking about. This animal cannot stay here. It will ruin your fields, your wells, your homes. Your villagers, not zookeepers. We have the knowledge to contain it." But his sharp words stirred unease. The villagers, proud of their independence, did not like being spoken to as though they were children. Murmurs grew louder. Then, without warning, the dinosaur moved. It lowered its head toward the convoy, sniffing curiously at the truck. The soldiers stiffened, fingers tightening on their triggers. The creature nudged the vehicle lightly, rocking it on its wheels. A frightened goat tied nearby bleated loudly, and the dinosaur bent lower, sniffing at the animal. In an instant, the soldiers raised their rifles. Karim shouted, "Stop," but Rashid barked, "Shoot if you must. Protect us." The air thickened. A single wrong move, a nervous trigger, and blood would spill. The villagers held their breath, frozen. But the dinosaur simply sneezed, loud and sudden, sending dust flying. The goat bolted in terror. The convoy rocked once more, and then the giant straightened, looking almost puzzled, before lumbering away toward the fields. The tense silence broke with nervous laughter from some children, but the soldiers did not lower their rifles. The scientists were already scribbling frantically, muttering words like behavioral patterns and non-predatory traits. The headman finally raised his voice. "Enough! No one shoots without my order. This is still our village, our land, and what happens here we decide." That evening, the village was divided. Half the people whispered that the scientists were right, that the dinosaur belonged in the city, in laboratories where clever men could learn from it. Why should poor villagers risk their safety? Why should their harvest be crushed? The other half, led quietly by Kareem, believed otherwise. They felt that the dinosaur had come for a reason, that it had chosen them, not the city. To hand it over would be to betray something sacred. Around the fire, Kareem told the children. Long ago, in stories older than memory, creatures like this walked the earth. Perhaps this one has crossed time itself to remind us of something. Maybe it is not ours to give away. But then whose is it? One child asked. Kareem looked toward the dark silhouette of the dinosaur resting near the grove, its glow faint under the stars. His voice dropped low. That, my children, is the question. As night deepened, thunder rolled again in the distance, louder than before. The scientists muttered about incoming storms, but Kareem's heart clenched with a different thought. The storm was not just weather. It was a sign of change, of conflict, of something that had only begun. And deep in the shadows, unseen by the villagers, the dinosaur raised its head toward the horizon and released a low, haunting cry. Not of hunger, not of anger, but of loneliness. The storm broke the following night. Lightning ripped across the horizon, splitting the sky in jagged veins of white. Thunder rolled so heavily that even the dinosaur's growls were drowned beneath it. Rain poured over Mehranpur in sheets, flooding the fields, running like rivers through narrow alleys and drumming against the tin roofs of homes. The villagers huddled indoors, whispering prayers against the wrath of the heavens. But even as they sheltered, their thoughts never left the creature outside. Through the sheets of rain, the dinosaur's silhouette loomed in the mango grove. It shifted restlessly, its glowing scales flashing brighter under every strike of lightning. Its cries pierced the storm, low, mournful bellows that shook the hearts of all who heard them. Kareem stood at the doorway of his hut, soaked to the bone, staring at the beast. His old heart tightened. It was not just the storm that unsettled the creature. Something deeper gnawed at it. Something unseen. "Why are you here, Ancient One?" he whispered, though no answer came beyond another trembling roar. Inside the mosque courtyard, the scientists and soldiers had set up a temporary camp. Their tents flapped violently in the wind, their equipment half drowned by the rain. Still, their leader, Dr. Hamid, the man with silver-framed glasses, was relentless. He barked at his assistants to keep recording, to measure, to document every move of the dinosaur. "This data is historic," he shouted over the storm. "Do you realize what this means? An actual dinosaur, alive. It changes everything. Evolution, time, biology, it all must be rewritten." The soldiers were less inspired. Their captain, a hard-jawed man named Farouk, scowled at the restless beast. "Data won't matter if that thing tramples us to death. We should restrain it while we can." "Restrain?" Dr. Hamid snapped. "With what? Rope? Chains? That creature could tear through steel. No, we study it. We learn. That's the priority." But Captain Farouk muttered darkly, "If it becomes a threat, I'll give the order. Scientists be damned." Unseen by them, Rashid listened nearby, his anger boiling. Every day, the dinosaur devoured more crops, crushed more land. To him, it was a curse, one the city men treated like a prize. He clenched his fists, already plotting. By dawn, the storm had eased, leaving the village soaked and broken. Roofs had leaked, fields had flooded, but the greatest damage was yet to come. The dinosaur, restless from the night's fury, began to wander again. It lumbered out of the grove and toward the central fields, where villagers worked to salvage what little the storm had spared. They froze as the giant approached. "Stay back," men shouted, waving sticks uselessly. But the beast did not charge. It lowered its massive head and nosed the ground, searching, sniffing, its glowing scales pulsing faintly. Then it tore into the mud, digging with frightening strength, flinging clumps of earth aside like toys. The villagers screamed, scattering as their crops were uprooted. "See," Rashid bellowed, arriving with soldiers. It destroys everything. Will you still call it harmless? The dinosaur roared, tossing its head back, and lightning seemed to answer even though the storm had passed. Fear rippled through the crowd. Dr. Hamid, soaked and frantic, shouted, "Don't interfere. This behavior, this digging, it means something. It's searching for something, not attacking." But his words fell on deaf ears. The sight of ruined crops pushed the villagers into panic. Women cried, men shouted, children clung to their mothers. That was when Captain Farouk raised his rifle. "Enough. We put it down before it puts us down." The soldiers followed, rifles lifting, barrels gleaming in the weak dawn light. Kareem stumbled forward, his voice cracking with desperation.
"No.
"You fools. You cannot kill what you don't understand." But Rashid shouted back, "If we don't, we'll all starve." The dinosaur froze, its golden eyes locking onto the line of rifles. Its chest heaved, its tail swayed, and a low growl built deep inside its throat. For the first time, the villagers felt true danger pressing down on them. Not from the dinosaur's size, but from the clash between men's fear and men's greed. "Hold your fire," Dr. Hamid roared. But his voice was drowned by a sudden crack, thunder, or a gunshot. None could tell. The dinosaur reared back, roaring so loudly that the ground quaked. It lashed its tail, splintering a wooden cart, sending villagers screaming in every direction. The soldiers stumbled, struggling to hold their aim. Then came the strangest thing of all. The ground beneath the creature split. Not far, not deep, but enough to expose a glowing fissure of light, as though something ancient and hidden had awakened beneath the soil. Gasps filled the air. The villagers froze. Even the dinosaur paused, staring at the glow with almost reverent stillness. Its scales shimmered brighter, pulsing in rhythm with the light below. What is that?" whispered a villager. Dr. Hamid's face turned pale. "Impossible. Energy, some kind of source buried here, all along." Kareem's voice trembled. "Not energy. Memory. This land remembers." The dinosaur lowered its head toward the fissure, crooning softly. The villagers saw it not as a monster then, but as something drawn home to a place it had lost through time. But Captain Farouk's voice shattered the moment. "Enough mysticism. Fire on my command." "No," Kareem shouted, standing in front of the rifles. "You will bring ruin on us all." Villagers screamed at the soldiers. Mothers begged them to stop. Children cried, but the captain's finger tightened on the trigger. Rashid egged him on, his face twisted in rage. And the dinosaur, sensing danger, raised its head high, its roar shaking the heavens once more. The air thickened with tension, heavier than the storm, heavier than the fear. The next moment would decide everything, whether the village of Mehranpur became a graveyard of broken fields and blood, or the first place in history to guard a living miracle. At last, the headman of the village, tall and stern-faced, raised his voice. "We will send 3 men at dawn to the district office. They will inform the authorities. Until then, we will keep watch. No one harms the beast unless it harms us first." The crowd murmured, some satisfied, others uneasy, but the decision was final. Guards were placed at the edge of the fields, though their torches seemed pitiful compared to the shadow of the sleeping giant. And so the night crawled by, heavy with tension. Morning came, but with it, chaos. When the rooster crowed and sunlight spilled over the fields, the villagers rushed out to check if the dinosaur was still there.
It was.
But it was no longer asleep. The beast stood tall, stretching its massive body, tail swaying like a whip. The ground trembled under its weight as it let out a low growl that vibrated in every chest. People screamed and ducked behind walls, clutching their children. Then came the shock. The dinosaur bent its head, not toward the people, but toward a patch of grass near the goat pens. It tore up the grass in a single bite and chewed, just as peacefully as a cow. Silence fell. The beast was eating plants. "By God," Kareem whispered, "it is no hunter. It is a gentle one." The villagers peeked out, astonished. They had expected blood and fury, but instead the giant munched clumsily, snorting dust into the air. Children, braver than their parents, giggled from behind fences. "Look, it eats like our buffalo." "It's not scary at all." But not everyone was relieved. Rashid scowled. "Do you not see? Even if it doesn't eat us, it will destroy our fields. Look at its size. What will happen to our crops if it stays?" His words carried truth. Already, a wide trail of crushed wheat stretched behind the beast's path from the forest. Every step flattened more of the harvest, and its tail alone had snapped 2 wooden fences. The villagers now faced a new dilemma. The dinosaur might not kill them, but its sheer presence threatened their livelihood. "Without crops, we starve," one farmer muttered grimly. That afternoon, the 3 men chosen by the headman, Rashid among them, set out for the district office, riding on a single motorbike, dust rising behind them. They promised to return with help, perhaps even with experts who could explain this mystery. But the hours stretched on, and the villagers were left with the dinosaur, which showed no signs of leaving. It drank again from the well, ate more grass, and then wandered toward the mango grove, where it plucked entire branches with frightening ease. Children followed at a distance, laughing when it sneezed at the tickle of a buzzing bee. The adults watched, torn between fear and awe. For every villager who wanted it gone, another whispered that maybe, just maybe, it was a sign. Perhaps God has sent it to test us. Or to bless us. No, it must be a curse. Kareem, however, remained silent, his eyes fixed on the beast. Deep in his heart, he felt this was no ordinary accident of nature. Something larger was at play, something the village was only beginning to glimpse. That night, strange events deepened the mystery. As the dinosaur lay resting again, children noticed something glowing faintly on its scales, a shimmer, almost like starlight. They pointed excitedly, but their parents dismissed it as tricks of the moonlight. Yet Kareem saw it too, a soft, otherworldly glow pulsing along the creature's back, like veins of light. "This is no ordinary animal," he murmured to himself. "This is a messenger from a forgotten age." And in the distance, thunder rumbled. Real thunder this time. Clouds gathered on the horizon, though no rain had been forecast. The air grew heavy, charged, as though the arrival of the dinosaur had awakened something far greater than itself. The villagers shivered, not knowing whether to fear the storm or the beast that had brought it. For though the dinosaur seemed harmless for now, its presence was unraveling the fragile fabric of their world. And when Rashid returned with men from the city, things would only grow more complicated. Because some would want to protect the creature, and others would want to destroy it. The air held its breath. Rain-soaked fields shimmered with the strange glow of the fissure. The dinosaur stood above it, chest heaving, scales pulsing faintly with the same rhythm of light. The villagers pressed together in fear and awe. Soldiers gripped their rifles tighter. And then, crack! The first shot rang out. It was not the captain's order, but the nervous finger of a young soldier, too frightened to wait. The bullet flew wide, grazing the dinosaur's side. Blood, thick and dark, splattered against the mud. The roar that followed shook the heavens. The dinosaur reared on its hind legs, bellowing with such force that villagers collapsed to their knees, clutching their ears. Its massive tail swung violently, smashing the truck in a single strike. Soldiers scattered, shouting, some firing wildly into the stormy dawn. Bullets thudded harmlessly into the beast's scales, like pebbles against stone. "Stop shooting," Dr. Hamid screamed, his voice raw with fury. "You'll kill us all before you kill it." But panic ruled the moment. The dinosaur lunged forward, not in a hunt, but in pain, thrashing against huts and trees. Roofs caved, walls cracked, animals fled bleeding into the rain. Amina screamed as debris toppled near her, and her mother pulled her away just in time. Kareem, bracing himself on his stick, cried out, "Fools! It is wounded, not evil. You are the monsters here, not it." His words vanished in the chaos. In the midst of the frenzy, Rashid seized his chance. Snatching a torch from a villager, he shouted, "Burn it! fire will drive it out. If the soldiers cannot protect us, we will protect ourselves. Some of the younger men, fueled by fear, rallied to him, grabbing sticks, stones, anything that could be thrown. Mothers screamed for them to stop, but terror overruled reason. The dinosaur, bleeding but not fatally harmed, stumbled backward, its huge eyes flashing with something more than rage, confusion, grief, a cry that said, "Why are you hurting me?" Amina broke free from her mother's arms. Tears streamed down her face as she ran toward the beast.
No.
"Stop hurting it. It didn't do anything wrong," the villagers shouted, trying to stop her, but the girl darted forward with a child's fearless heart. She stood between the soldiers' rifles and the dinosaur's massive legs, her tiny arms stretched wide. The soldiers hesitated, lowering their guns in shock. The villagers gasped. Rashid snarled, "Get that foolish child out of the way." But Karim, his voice trembling yet unyielding, shouted, "No, let her speak." The rain softened. The dinosaur lowered its massive head, eyes glowing faintly, and stared at the small figure before it. Amina looked up, sobbing, her voice breaking but clear. "Don't be afraid. We are not your enemies. Please don't leave. Please don't die." To everyone's astonishment, the beast let out a low, mournful rumble, not the deafening roar of rage, but a sound almost like a wounded animal's cry. It blinked slowly, as if acknowledging her words. The villagers murmured, shaken to their core. The sight of the child and the monster, face to face, melted something in their hearts. Even the most fearful felt shame pressing down on them. But the soldiers were divided. Captain Farouk cursed under his breath. "It's manipulating you with its size and its tricks. A beast is a beast. And a beast this large cannot be allowed to live near humans." Dr. Hamid turned on him, fury in his eyes. "You blind fool. This is not war. It's history standing before us. We must preserve it, not destroy it. For once, think beyond bullets." The captain's jaw tightened. "I think of lives. My men. These villagers. If this thing grows restless again, no wall, no weapon here can stop it. We must end it." "No!" Karim shouted, his old voice carrying like thunder. "Listen to the earth, Captain. This creature has not chosen the city, not chosen the soldiers, not chosen your scientists. It has come here, to us, to this land. Do you not see? The fissure, the light. This is not accident. This is destiny." The fissure pulsed brighter as if in answer, glowing like a heartbeat beneath the soil. The dinosaur lowered itself slowly, curling near the fissure, its massive body trembling with exhaustion. The glow of its scales dimmed as though it poured strength into the ground itself. The villagers stared, silent, torn between awe and fear. It was then that Rashid made his move. Hatred burned in his eyes, not for the dinosaur alone, but for everything it symbolized. In his mind, it was the reason for their hunger, their fear, their broken harvest. To him, it was no miracle, no destiny, only doom. He snatched a rifle from a distracted soldier, cocked it, and aimed at the dinosaur's eye. "No more debates," he roared. "If no one has the courage, I will finish it myself." Screams erupted. "Stop him. Rashid, no." Amina shrieked, "Don't." But Rashid's finger tightened, and at that exact moment, lightning split the sky, striking the fissure with a deafening crack. The ground shook violently, throwing Rashid off balance. His shot went wide, the bullet vanishing into the storm. The rifle flew from his hands, landing uselessly in the mud. The fissure blazed with blinding light, forcing everyone to shield their eyes. The dinosaur lifted its head, releasing a roar that echoed with something far more than pain. It was a roar of power, of awakening, of something ancient reclaiming its place in the world. The villagers collapsed to their knees, trembling. Even the soldiers lowered their rifles in shock. Rashid crawled backward, eyes wide with terror, his defiance shattered. Karim's voice rose above the thunder. "Do you see? This is not death. This is rebirth. The land remembers. The earth remembers. And this creature is the key. As the light dimmed, the fissure sealed again, leaving only steaming earth behind. The dinosaur collapsed, breathing heavily but alive, its scales flickering faintly in the dawn. Silence fell over Mehranpur. The storm had passed, but another storm still raged in the hearts of men. Captain Farouk looked at his soldiers, uncertain for the first time. Dr. Hamid's eyes burned with wonder, his notebook forgotten. Rashid, broken and humiliated, slunk into the shadows. The villagers turned to Karim, waiting. The old man leaned on his stick, his voice low but steady. The question is no longer what this creature is, but what we will choose to become because of it. Protectors? Or destroyers? The dinosaur's golden eyes blinked once more, soft and weary, as though awaiting their answer. And the fate of Mehranpur, and perhaps all mankind, hung on the choice of a single village. The dawn broke slowly, gray and trembling, as if the sky itself feared to fully wake. Mehranpur lay in ruins, broken fences, shattered roofs, and fields churned into mud. Smoke curled from crushed huts. The cries of frightened goats and cows echoed faintly. But all eyes remained fixed on the colossal creature sprawled near the sealed fissure. The dinosaur breathed heavily, its wounds glistening dark against its scales. The glow of its body had dimmed, though faint sparks of golden light still flickered, pulsing in rhythm with its breaths. The storm had passed, but the storm of decision had only begun. Dr. Hamid crouched close, scribbling feverishly in his soaked notebook. This changes everything. A living relic, a window into Earth's ancient past, and perhaps its future. If we can study it, protect it. His hands trembled as though holding the weight of history itself. Captain Farouk stood a few steps away, jaw tight, boots sunk into the mud. His men shifted uneasily, rifles hanging low, their eyes darting between the villagers and the monster. For once, the captain did not bark orders. He only stared, as though the ground beneath him had slipped away. Karim leaned on his stick, breathing hard but steady. You see it now, don't you, Captain? Bullets cannot erase destiny. The earth has chosen. The captain's lips pressed into a thin line. He gave no reply. Among the villagers, whispers rippled like wind across dry grass. Should we drive it away before it heals? What if more of them come? Or what if it is here to save us? Fear and wonder twisted together, leaving no clear answer. And then Rashid, face pale with rage and shame, shoved through the crowd. His voice cracked, but his words dripped with venom. You're all bewitched. Do you not see? This thing will destroy us. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but one step from it could flatten a house. One swing of its tail could kill a dozen men. You speak of destiny, Karim, but I see doom. If you let it stay, you sign the death of our village. Some nodded uneasily. Others turned away, unwilling to meet his eyes. Amina clung to her mother's shawl, glaring at Rashid with the ferocity only a child could hold. You tried to kill it, she spat. But it's still here. Maybe it's stronger than your hate. Rashid's jaw tightened. He lunged as though to silence her, but villagers stepped in, blocking him. Karim raised his hand. Enough. The land has spoken. This creature is not here to conquer, it is here to remind us. We have lived thinking the world is small, that nothing exists beyond our fields and hills. But now we see how small we truly are. Suddenly, a horn blared in the distance. Everyone froze. From the road leading into the valley, a convoy of vehicles rumbled, jeeps, armored trucks, and black vans carrying the insignia of the capital. Dust and smoke trailed behind them. They've come, whispered one villager. Within minutes, the convoy halted at the edge of Mehranpur. Out stepped men in clean uniforms and suits, their eyes cold and calculating. Scientists in white coats clutched briefcases, while officials barked into radios. A tall man with slicked hair and sharp eyes strode forward, flanked by guards. He looked around, sneering at the chaos, then fixed his gaze on the dinosaur. His lips curled into a smile. So it's true, he murmured. The rumors did not exaggerate. Captain Ferg straightened, saluting stiffly. Minister Idris. I did not expect you here in person. The minister waved him off. You think I'd let history's greatest discovery fall into the hands of mere villagers? Or soldiers who shoot before thinking? His gaze flicked to the wounded dinosaur.
No.
This belongs to the nation, to progress, to power. He turned to his entourage. Prepare the containment equipment. We'll sedate it, transport it to the capital. Let the scientists study it. Imagine the weapons we can build from its strength, the industries we can fuel from its biology. This will put our country above all others. His words sliced through the village like knives. The villagers recoiled, horrified. Kareem slammed his stick into the ground. You will not take it, he thundered. This creature did not appear in your glass towers, Idris. It came here, to the soil, to the fields. It is not yours to chain. Minister Idris smirked. Old man, everything under this flag belongs to the nation. And you, your village, even your children, you are all part of it. If you resist, you will be treated as enemies of the state. The villagers gasped. Mothers pulled their children close. Rashid, however, found new fire in Idris's words. Yes, he cried. Take it away. Save us from this curse. But others, hearts stirred by Amina's bravery and Kareem's faith, stood firm. A farmer stepped forward, trembling but resolute. This is our land. We decide what stays and what goes. You cannot just take what belongs to us. Idris's eyes narrowed. He gestured to his guards, who raised their rifles. I can and I will. At that moment, the dinosaur stirred. Its golden eyes opened slowly, focusing on the new arrivals. A low rumble escaped its throat. Not rage this time, but warning. The guard stiffened, fingers twitching on triggers. Amina ran forward before anyone could stop her, placing herself once more between the rifles and the beast. No. You won't hurt it, she shouted, her voice ringing across the square. Her mother screamed. Soldiers hesitated, unwilling to fire with a child in their sights. Minister Idris snarled. Move the girl.
Now.
But Kareem's old voice rose like a bell.
She sees what you do not, Idris.
She sees not a weapon, not a curse, but a life. And if she can stand before it without fear, then shame on every man here who points a gun at it. The villagers erupted, voices clashing. Some begged to let the officials take it, fearing destruction. Others shouted to defend it, to guard what destiny had given. Soldiers tightened their ranks, caught between duty and doubt. The dinosaur lifted its head higher, its glow faint but steady, as if it, too, awaited their decision. The moment stretched like eternity. The fate of Mehranpur balanced on a knife's edge. And in the growing silence, Amina whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Please don't let them take our friend away. The air in Mehranpur thickened like smoke. The dinosaur's labored breaths rumbled across the valley, mixing with the sound of radios crackling, soldiers loading tranquilizer darts, and villagers whispering in fear. Minister Idris stood tall, his polished shoes untouched by mud, his face carved with arrogance. You have one choice, villagers. Step aside, or be crushed under the weight of progress. History is not written by farmers. It is written by those bold enough to seize it. His words struck like whips. Some villagers lowered their heads, uncertain, their courage fraying under the sight of soldiers' rifles. Others tightened fists around tools and sticks, hearts pounding with defiance. Kareem's eyes blazed. History is also written by those who refuse to bow. And we will not bow to greed. Idris smirked. We'll see. He raised a hand, and soldiers advanced. Amina clutched her mother's shawl. The dinosaur stirred uneasily, shifting its massive weight. The golden glow of its scales pulsed faintly, as though sensing the danger pressing closer. A deep, resonant growl rolled from its chest, warning yet weary. Dr. Hamid stepped forward, his voice urgent. Minister, listen to me. Sedating such a creature is reckless. It could kill it. We must study it alive, not bleed it for your ambitions. If you force this, you may destroy the very miracle you want to claim. Idris's cold eyes flicked to him. Doctor, your passion is admirable, but you are a servant of the state. Do not confuse wonder with power. I will have both. In the crowd, Rashid's eyes darted. He had been humiliated before, but now, with the minister's arrival, he saw another chance to reclaim his pride. Quietly, he slipped away toward the trucks where the officials had stored their equipment. He found what he sought: crates of restraints, heavy chains, and darts filled with sedatives strong enough to fell an elephant. His hands trembled as he touched them, a flicker of doubt crossing his mind. But then he saw the villagers gathering strength, rallying around Kareem and the child. Rage boiled in him. "They will thank me later," he muttered, seizing a dart gun. "When the beast is gone." Meanwhile, beneath the banyan tree, Kareem gathered those who dared resist. Farmers, mothers, even a few of the younger men stood in a tight circle. Their faces glistened with rain and fear. "They will not stop until it is chained," Kareem whispered, his voice hoarse but fierce. "But this land does not belong to Idris, nor his machines. It belongs to us, and the creature that rose from it. If we are to save it, we must act now." "But how?" a farmer asked, trembling. "They have rifles. We have only tools." Kareem's eyes gleamed. "We have more than tools. We have the land itself. And the land favors those who honor it." Amina tugged at Kareem's sleeve. Her voice was small but steady. "It listens to us. It listened when I spoke. Maybe if we can guide it, it will follow." Kareem smiled faintly, his wrinkled hand resting on her shoulder. "You have the heart of a guardian, child." "Yes, perhaps its trust is our greatest weapon." The villagers murmured, some frightened, others inspired. The idea of standing beside the creature instead of against it felt impossible, yet strangely right. Night fell swiftly, shadows stretching over the ruined fields. The officials set up floodlights around the Dinosaur, glaring beams that pierced the darkness. Scientists busied themselves with instruments, while soldiers formed a perimeter, rifles gleaming. The beast lay still, eyes half closed, glowing faintly in the harsh, white light. In the shadows, the villagers made their move. Guided by Kareem and Amina, they slipped between trees and huts, carrying buckets of water, bundles of herbs and cloths. Not weapons, but care. They approached the Dinosaur quietly, whispering prayers, offering water, cooling its wounds. The creature rumbled softly, not in anger but recognition. Its golden eyes lingered on Amina, who stroked its scales gently, whispering, "We will protect you. Don't be afraid." The glow of its body brightened faintly, responding to her touch. But betrayal crept in. Rashid, crouched in the shadows with the dart gun, watched with narrowed eyes. Hatred and envy twisted his face. "They treat it like a god," he hissed. "But I will remind them it is only a beast." He raised the gun, finger tightening. Just then, Kareem turned, as though sensing him. Their eyes locked. Old man and bitter youth. Kareem's voice cut through the night. "Do not do this, Rashid." Rashid's hands shook, fury and desperation battling inside him. "If you won't save us, I will. You think this monster is our destiny, but it will be our grave." "Perhaps," Kareem said softly. "But if you kill what the earth has given, you will curse us all." The Dinosaur stirred, its head rising slightly. Its golden eyes fixed on Rashid, unblinking, ancient. Rashid froze, sweat pouring down his temple. For one terrible moment, he felt as though the creature could see into his very soul. His resolve wavered. His fingers slipped from the trigger. But Idris, watching from the floodlights, saw the hesitation. His voice sliced through the night. "Shoot it, boy. Do it now, and prove your loyalty." The crowd gasped. Rashid flinched, caught between orders and fear. Amina stepped forward, her small figure lit by the floodlights. "Don't listen to him, Rashid. Please. You're not a killer. You're one of us. This is our friend." Rashid's chest heaved. His hands trembled violently. The dart gun slipped from his grip, falling into the mud. Idris's face twisted with fury. "Coward! The tension snapped like a bowstring. Villagers surged forward, standing in front of the dinosaur. Mothers, fathers, even the old and frail formed a wall of flesh and spirit. Kareem raised his stick high. "You will not take it." The soldiers aimed rifles. The villagers did not move. Amina held her ground at the very front, her eyes blazing with the same golden light that flickered in the creature's scales. For the first time, the soldiers hesitated. They were trained to fight enemies, not unarmed farmers holding their children. The dinosaur loomed behind them, a silent titan, its glow growing brighter as if feeding on the courage of those who protected it. Minister Idris's face darkened with rage. "You think you can defy me? Very well. You will all be treated as traitors." He turned to his guards. "Seize them. And if the beast resists, kill it." Gasps broke through the night. Soldiers shifted uneasily. But before anyone could act, the ground trembled. The sealed fissure behind the dinosaur pulsed faintly, once, twice, like a heartbeat returning to life. The dinosaur's eyes flared gold. It lifted its head, releasing a roar that split the sky, a roar not of pain, but of awakening. The floodlights flickered, the earth shook, and something deep beneath the soil stirred in answer. The villagers cried out in awe. The officials faltered, fear creeping into their confident stares. And Kareem whispered, almost to himself, it was never alone. The ground quaked beneath Mehranpur. The fissure pulsed brighter with every tremor, glowing as if the earth itself had veins of fire. The dinosaur's scales shimmered in rhythm, golden light spreading like ripples across its colossal frame. It reared its head, unleashing a roar that rolled across the valley like thunder. Floodlights flickered, machines sputtered, radios screamed static. Soldiers stumbled, gripping their rifles, eyes wide with fear. Villagers clutched each other, some falling to their knees in awe. Minister Idris shouted above the chaos. "Hold your ground. Do not fear. Fire if it rises against you." But his voice was swallowed by the earth itself. The fissure cracked open once more. This time, light did not pour forth as a beam. It surged like a river, spilling across the mud and bathing everything in an otherworldly glow. Out of the fissure rose shapes, smaller, less defined, but alive. Everyone gasped as silhouettes emerged, not one, but several creatures. Hatchlings. They were no taller than cows, their bodies glowing faintly, like embers. They stumbled clumsily onto the soil, chirping high-pitched cries that echoed like songs from a forgotten age. The great dinosaur lowered its head, rumbling softly. It was not a monster, not a curse, not a weapon. It was a mother. The villagers wept in silence, hearts breaking open with wonder. Even Kareem, who had spoken of destiny, pressed a trembling hand to his chest, tears streaking his wrinkled cheeks. "By the heavens," he whispered, "we thought it was sent to us. But it came for them." Amina gasped, eyes wide with delight. "It's a family." The hatchlings stumbled toward the mother, nuzzling against her massive body. Her wounds no longer seemed to matter. She rumbled low and warm, her golden glow enveloping them. But the moment of awe shattered with Idris's voice. "Do not be fools. Do you not see? This is not destiny, it is opportunity. A breeding ground of creatures lost to time. Imagine the armies we could raise, the power we could wield.
Take them.
All of them." He raised his hand. The soldiers hesitated, staring at the tiny glowing hatchlings. Mothers clutched their children tighter, villagers surged forward, shouting, "Leave them, don't touch them." The dinosaur raised her head, growling, her eyes blazing with protective fire. Idris snarled, "Shoot the beast." But no one moved. The soldiers shifted uneasily, their rifles heavy in their hands. Many had families of their own. The sight of the mother shielding her young struck something deeper than orders. One soldier muttered, "Sir, they're just babies." Silence. Idris snapped, "Obey, or face court-martial." Still no one fired. The standstill stretched until Rashid broke it. His face pale, eyes haunted, he stumbled forward. His voice cracked as he shouted at Idris. No more. This is wrong. I thought killing it would save us, but I see now. It's not here to destroy. It's here to begin again. The villagers gasped. For the first time, Rashid's words did not drip with venom, but with truth. Idris's face twisted with fury. Traitor. He drew his own pistol, aiming it directly at Rashid. Before anyone could move, a shadow loomed. The dinosaur's tail swung with blinding speed, smashing the ground between Idris and the villagers. The pistol flew from his hand. Idris stumbled backward, sprawling in the mud. His polished suit now filthy, his arrogance stripped. The villagers roared, not in fear, but in defiance. They surged forward, overwhelming the few loyal guards, seizing rifles and pushing the officials back toward their trucks. The soldiers, unwilling to fire on innocent villagers, dropped their weapons and surrendered to reason. Idris screamed, "You fools! You'll regret this. You think you can hide them? The whole world will come for them." Karim stepped forward, leaning on his stick, his voice steady as stone. "Then let the world come. But they will find a people who chose life over greed." The dinosaur lowered her head again, curling around her young. The golden glow intensified, spreading across the fissure. The earth hummed with energy, a deep sound that rattled bones and filled hearts. Dr. Hamid whispered, eyes shining. "It is sealing itself, protecting its young, closing the gate until they are ready." And indeed, as dawn's first true light touched the valley, the fissure began to close once more. The glowing cracks faded, leaving behind only warm soil and the silhouettes of the creatures nestled together. The mother dinosaur let out one final roar, not of pain, but of triumph. It echoed across the hills, a sound that would live in the villagers' memories forever. Then she lay still, her golden glow dimming as the earth cradled her family. The ground smoothed, the fissure sealed. The glow vanished, and in its place remained only silence. The villagers stood motionless, unable to breathe, unable to speak. The soldiers lowered their weapons. Even Idris, mud-stained and defeated, stared in shock. It was Amina who broke the silence. Her small voice, filled with both joy and sorrow, whispered, "They're safe now." Karim placed a hand on her shoulder. "Yes, child. Safe where no greed can touch them." The villagers turned to one another, a bond stronger than fear binding them. They had faced the impossible together. They had chosen not destruction but protection. Idris, shaking with fury, shouted once more, "This is not over. You cannot hide what has happened here." Karim's eyes hardened. "Perhaps not. But when the world comes asking, it will hear the story from us, not you. And we will tell it as it truly was." The villagers cheered, drowning out Idris's cries. His convoy, stripped of authority, retreated down the valley road. Rashid watched in silence, his face pale, shame etched deep. For once, he had no words. As the sun rose, casting gold across the ruined village, Mehranpur felt both broken and reborn. Children ran among the wreckage, laughter mixing with relief. Farmers leaned on one another, planning to rebuild. The dinosaur might never rise again, but its presence had changed them forever. Dr. Hamid closed his notebook with trembling hands. "The world will demand proof. But I will not betray this place." Sometimes, the greatest discoveries are not for museums or armies. They are for hearts. Amina gazed at the sealed fissure, her eyes still wet with tears. She smiled faintly, whispering, "Goodbye, my friend. Come back when you're ready." The wind carried her words gently across the valley. And in that moment, the people of Mehranpur understood. They were no longer just farmers of a forgotten land. They were guardians of a secret older than time, chosen by the earth itself.